Starting in less than 10 minutes will be the NASCAR Canada driver autograph session in the upper paddock. And then at the end of this race, we'll get into our official lunch break at approximately 10 minutes after 1 o'clock. And then during that lunch break, we'll get into our pre-race ceremonies, our opening with the national anthems, the invocation, and hearing from some of our dignitaries here this afternoon before we roll off for 51 laps in the WeatherTech 200. A very pivotal round for the series. Of course, next weekend they'll be at Delaware Speedway Park and then on to Montmagny, Quebec for the final race of the championship. We've got a multiple driver battle for the championship. Today's race will be pivotal before they head back on the ovals for the final two races of 2024. And so the Camaro pace car will lead the field out of GT4, TCR, and TCA cars. The next voices you hear will be that of David Bradley and Todd Lewis to bring you lap-by-lap coverage of our final Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin race of 2024.
The FEL Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Market. As a matter of fact, the final race of the season for this group of racers. It's been a hard-fought season in all three classes. The GT4s, the TCRs, and the TCAs. And if you're brand new to this style of racing, you can see the two GT4 cars will start out in front, a little bit of a gap in front of the rest of the field, and the TCRs will follow suit, and the TCAs mixed in towards the tail of that group. Jack Polito will lead them off in the 22. That's the Ford Mustang, followed by the Porsche, the 77 of Caden Goodridge. And then leading the TCR group will be young Anthony Martella in the number 95 alongside Richard Boak in the 84. Now, Boak was actually given a one-position penalty due to passing under the yellow flag in race number 1. So that affects his starting position for this one. Ruben Volz in the 8 will start in 5th overall. Connor Attrell in the 80. And then Gary Kwok in the 66. Ron Tomlinson in the 48. Quinn Attrell in the 86 in 9th. Megan Tomlinson will round out the top 10 in the 38. Tom Kwok in the 55. Then we get into the TCA group, and it's Robert Cipriani-Dietrich in the 5. Eric Kuntz, Felix Kwok, Peter Hansen, and Megan Leahy will round out the field of starters here today. We can tell you that based on results yesterday, couple champions have been crowned, and one in the GT4 class, which comes as no surprise given the dominating season. Jack Polito crowned champion officially yesterday, but in the TCA group, also Eric Kuntz behind the wheel of the 25 has been crowned champion there.
And he was a very happy and celebratory and emotional Eric Kuntz climbing out of the car, first climbing up onto the roof of the car. Had a little slip, but stabilized himself and let out a big scream of emotion. And yeah, he was quite emotional afterwards. But a terrific season by Eric Kuntz. He and Robert Cipriani-Dietrich have had good battles, I think, at just every round this year of the Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin. They have battled back and forth, both of them trading spots for the top spot on the podium. And I expect much more of the same today, as we've seen in all three classes of SCCC.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, the 5 car, Robert Cipriani Cipriani Dietrich was leading in the TCA class in the late stages of the race, #1, and smoke started to show from the left rear corner, and that is the muffler area, so there was the potential they thought they might have had motor issues. It turned out to be a heat shield that got onto a CV boot, and it was spitting grease onto the exhaust system, and that was the reason for the smoke. Either way, it would have gone badly, so it was safer just to park that car for the last few laps and come back and race today for a potential victory for the only driver from the U.S. in the field, Robert Cipriani Dietrich.
You did mention as well Ruben Volt, who has come over to join the Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin for this round. Had an impressive showing yesterday as well. He is a very highly rated driver in Europe and has come over to run SCCC and wound up on the podium yesterday, and a very impressive drive for his first go out.
Driver from Estonia, as a matter of fact, and comes in as the number 34 driver in World TCR rankings. That's of all TCR drivers around the world. Ruben Volt is ranked number 34 at just 18 years old. You can see the cars generating some heat in their Michelin tires as they get set to get underway, and we can tell you the differences in these cars. The GT4 cars are definitely the fastest, most horsepower, about 450 plus horsepower, and a top speed of over 260 kilometers an hour. So they're the most powerful, but also the most technically advanced vehicles in the Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin field. As you see the pace car peel off, and it'll be a two-car battle into turn #1 in the GT4 field as Jack Polito in a throwback Comstock livery will lead him to green here in the final race of the season.
And Jack Polito on the inside of corner #1. Caden Goodrich doing a nice job hanging on the outside. He'll leave a little space to the outside and hopefully get around in corner #2 as the TCR cars approach the green flag.
And it'll be Martella on the inside, your pole sitter in the 95. The youngster will lead them into turn #1. Richard Boak, the veteran, will slot in behind if he can. You can see the Honda Civic is right there trying to close the door, as Ruben Volt will just have to file in line. So they will go single file through turn #2.
Nice job by Ruben Volt there not to, and it looks like he's not content with third and jumps to the outside of Richard Boak and powers around the outside, and he's going to retake that second spot. Nice move.
Yeah, potentially an issue on the 84 as Richard Boak didn't drive it in as hard as he normally would into turn #3. So maybe just feeling out the car, not quite comfortable with it yet, or might have just been surprised at the huge move put in by the driver of the 8.
Yes, and the 8 car of Ruben Volt has also got sights set now on the 95 of Anthony Polito. So, or excuse me, Anthony Martella. And it was a nice start from Martella today. Remember yesterday's race, he had a little difficulty, slipped back a couple of spots, and wound up trying to fight his way back to the front. Got as close as second, but that was it. The battle continues between the 8 and the 84 as whatever issue Richard Boak may have felt seems to have alleviated itself.
Yeah, the 48 of Ron Tomlinson managed to get around the 80 of Connor Luttrell. There's the red nose of the Audi, just ahead the blue nose of the Hyundai, and now Boak is settled into line in these TCR class cars. And we mentioned the GT4s with a horsepower of over 450. The TCRs have about 100 horsepower less, but they're making, so they're 4-cylinder cars, obviously turbocharged as Megan Tomlinson with issues on the number 38, but they're turning about 40 pounds of boost on a 4-cylinder race car, and it's all front-wheel drive, but they're very agile, very nimble, and they tend to put in pretty quick lap times here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
As we saw yesterday, it was a good door-to-door battle between the 77 of Caden Goodrich and the 22 of Jack Polito off the initial start. But as we also saw yesterday, Polito has gotten around that 77 and used that horsepower to his advantage and has pulled out a bit of a gap now.
Young Martella has a mirror filled with the 8 of Ruben Volt, with Richard Boak not too far behind in the Benz Pools Audi, sitting in third spot. There's your lead battle in TCA Actually, it's not the lead battle. Felix Kwok has it in the 11 car, just ahead, that Honda Civic, just out of camera range. But that's Eric Koons, who has been crowned champion, and this has been the season between these two cars. The 5 of Robert Cipriani-Dietrich and the 25 of Eric Koons have been inseparable all year.
And the 11 car of Felix Kwok has joined in that mixture in the last couple of rounds as well. Has not run the entire season, but he has also shown a great deal of speed and been very competitive with these other two front runners in TCA as they go door to door through 8, 9, and towards 10.
And Robert Cipriani-Dietrich has the preferred group, but here comes Eric Koons back on the inside. He'll have to get hard on the brakes to avoid making contact with the driver of the 5, Robert Cipriani-Dietrich. That opens the door for the 12 of Peter Hansen. And it looks like Megan Leahy is going to try and make a move there as well in the Hyundai.
Also running in her first couple of events, she joined the series later this year as well in that 26 car and has been impressive. The battle is heating up now between the 48 of Ron Tomlinson and the 80 of Connor Atrell, and the 66 of Gary Kwok not too far behind either.
Yeah, Kwok sitting 4th in points, chasing the 48 of Ron Tomlinson. Tomlinson picking up his first win at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Gary Kwok has sipped victory lane champagne on a couple of occasions so far in 2024, and now it looks like the 66 all over the back of the 80 of Atrell as Connor plays a little defense going into turn number 8. Quinn Atrell in the 86 right there as well.
It's an Atrell sandwich right now with the brothers Connor and Quinn, with the 66 in between, and a good battle between these cars. And this is typical of what we have seen throughout the entire season in the Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin, whether it's TCR, whether it's TCA, or even then the GT4s at times. Good, close battles throughout the field.
Not only that, look at the different makes all mixing it up there. You've got Audi, you've got Hyundai, and you've got Honda, and they're all essentially on level playing field, battling for positions here in the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin.
It almost looked like two battles of two there for a couple of seconds as we were going through one of the longer straightaways on the circuit. But now the 4 cars have bunched up again together, and it is Richard Boak, who is running in 3rd, that is off in the distance. But Ron Tomlinson, Connor Atrell, Gary Kwok, and Quinn Atrell all pretty much nose to tail.
Quinn had a good run up on the outside on the entrance to turn number 5, as it looks like Kwok was playing a little bit of defense in that Honda. The Hyundai has a little bit more speed, it seems. He just needs the opportunity, Quinn Atrell does, to get around Gary Kwok. It's difficult to pass somebody like Gary Kwok because he's done this a lot. He's been around for a lot of years. He's no stranger to watching the mirror, knowing where you have to play a little defense, not necessarily blocking. Just make it difficult to pass.
But it's great to see, as you mentioned, the different manufacturers, whether it's the Hyundais, whether it's the Hondas, whether it's the Audis, balance of performance keeps them all in close competition, so we get nose-to-tail racing like this throughout the circuit.
We can tell you Jack Polito has just clicked off his fastest lap of the race. The difference at the front now over 6 seconds, so he is on cruise control in what is essentially a victory lap to his championship season. Has visited victory lane in all but one race so far in this 2024 season. The closest battle and the only championship yet to be decided is in the TCR class, and Richard Boak, if he finishes right where he is, even with Anthony Martella in the top spot, that would give him enough points to secure the championship.
Yes, Dave and I both did the math a little earlier, one checking the other, and if Richard Boak finishes and picks up 12 points, that with an 8th place finish in class, that will secure him the championship in TCR.
Megan Tomlinson back out on track in that Tooth Autosport prepared number 38. Obviously not quite up to speed, so something amiss on that Audi as you take a look at your race leader in the TCA class. That is Felix Kwok in the M&S Honda Civic. And Felix is actually continually clicking off faster and faster times. He's just turned, as a matter of fact, the only driver in the TCA class to go into the 134s. So he has this field covered at this point.
Very much so. There's a good gap between himself and the 5 car of Robert Cipriani-Dietrich. Peter Hansen has jumped up into 3rd position, and the 25, the TCA champion for 2024, Eric Koons, is now running 4th.
Yeah, Tomlinson back down pit lane, so they went out to see what was the miss in the 38 car. Obviously issues still present as the crew goes to work to try and sort them out. It's better to use it now as a test session and try and fix those problems here at the racetrack rather than wondering whether or not you fixed it at home.
Absolutely, and this is experience gained for Megan Tomlinson as well, who jumped into SCCC in the TCA category. Her dad is Ron Tomlinson, and it was a father-daughter thing that they were doing together, and she's moved up into TCR so they can compete head-to-head this year.
Gap now growing between the top three, and you can see the other grouping of cars that is led by the 48 of Ron Tomlinson. Richard Boak, though, look up on the outside into turn number 8. He will complete that pass around Ruben Volt before they even get to the corner in turn number 8. A power move and a big-time flex from the guy they call Ricky Bobby.
But the 8 car is not letting him get away through the combination right, left, right, back out onto the front straightaway. And Ruben Volt has been very impressive since arriving here in SCCC. And yes, he gave up the position, but the fight is not over between the 8 and the 84 of Richard Boak.
He's been running in TCR in Europe and in Italy with 2 wins already in the 2024 season, one coming at the historic circuit in Spa, the other one to the Salzburg Ring in Austria. So yeah, he's no stranger to historic circuits, as he's now getting himself more and more familiar with one of Canada's most famous circuits here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
It's exactly what Anthony Martella out front of the TCR field wants to see as well. The second and third place runners battling. As you see the 22 of Jack Polito stream through, followed by the 77 of Caden Goodrich. A significant gap has accumulated, just over 8 seconds now between first and second in the GT4 class. And this is kind of what we saw in race number 1 this weekend, with Polito getting out in front, getting himself a comfortable lead, and then it was just manage it and get the checkered flag at the end of the 40 minutes.
Yeah, Caden Goodrich, again, coming into this year. This is his first opportunity to get behind the wheel of a GT4 class car. He ran half the season in 2023 in the Radical Cup Canada, and had 2 podiums, so he did very, very well, but gets behind the wheel of this VPX Motorsport prepared Porsche Cayman and just unable to keep up. But you know what? Take nothing away from Caden Goodrich, because nobody has been able to keep up to Jack Polito. As a matter of fact, if you go back 2 years ago, when he first started racing a GT4 class car here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, he has not lost since.
It is a remarkable record of success for Jack Polito in that 22 Ford Mustang that we have seen out in front of the field time and time again. And we were talking a little bit yesterday after his victory, and he said he knows this track so well. He is so comfortable and so at ease here, which is almost unusual to hear from racers who find a new challenge every time they take to this circuit, because there are so many unique and wonderful corners to challenge the racers. But Jack Polito said he feels so comfortable. He's got lots of laps here, and in a great car, he is very much at ease.
Yeah, and you can see the 25 of Eric Kuntz has managed to get around the 12 of Peter Hansen as the battle heats up at the front in the TCR class. Martella will hold the inside line into turn number 8 as Richard Boak is using that speed that he has found to get around the 8 of Volt, and now he's going to try to apply that on the 95 of Anthony Martella.
A little bit of pressure being exerted from the 84 of Richard Boak as Anthony Martella sees him in his rearview mirror. Richard was telling me yesterday that the real key to success in these TCR cars is managing your tires to get to the end. The drop-off is very minimal with the Michelin tires, but you've got to make sure that you have enough tire near the end of the race, and he said that was the real key to his success. So he's trying to push Anthony Martella right now so that he will use more of his tires and maybe make a mistake.
Also, I've heard, talking to some of the drivers, they back up the fact that these Michelin tires are fantastic and they hold on for a long time, but as a driver you can overheat them. So if you push them too far, they do get very greasy. They'll come back to you if you let them cool down, but you have to be mindful of that. If you're going to push them too hard, try and get on the gas too early, especially in these front-wheel drive cars. You will just spin those tires.
Great battle continues between the 84 of Richard Boak and the 95 of Anthony Martella. Martella's doing also everything that he has to do right now is to gain maximum points in terms of trying to snag a championship. The only thing he can do is get the maximum 40 points for a victory. Richard Boak is in a much more comfortable position in terms of the championship. but wouldn't it be nice to seal it with the second victory here at CTMP?
And you look at Anthony Martella and the way he's been driving around this circuit and just going down the Andretti straightaway. He sort of puts that car in the middle of the track. He just makes it difficult. He's driving very much like a veteran. Again, he's in his mid-teens in that car. He looks like somebody who's been there for years. This is his first foray into a TCR entry.
Had lots of experience in the sports cars this year. He was also driving some open wheel races earlier on in the year. They have stepped out of that program and focused on the sports cars this year, and still looking at options and ideas for 2025, but looking forward to see how Anthony Martella and his career develops in the years ahead. Definitely displaying some talent. He's shown it here all season long in the Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin.
You'll see Robert Cipriani Dietrich giving chase to your race leader Felix Kwok as the rest of the field sort of swallows them up. The TCRs coming through, led by Ron Tomlinson, Connor Rattrell, Gary Kwok, Quinn all in there as well, as now both once again catches a bit of the draft down the Andretti straightaway. He knows he can power around the outside in turn number 8, and it might even be a better place to try and pass than pinning it down low, because the driver on the outside can carry just so much momentum.
And you notice the difference between the way Anthony Martella approached that straightaway and corner number 8 than when we saw Richard Boak go around the 8 car of Ruben Volt. He was in position. That outside lane was not open to make that power move pass. He had to step in behind and continue the chase.
Smart. He's using every bit of his racecraft right now to hold back the Vets Pools number 84 of Richard Boak. And all the while, look at that 8 car has settled back. He was dropping back just a little bit, but Ruben Volt is now slowly chipping away into that race lead, and once again closing that gap at the front.
You almost expect by the end of this lap, or certainly the next one, that this will be a 3-way battle for top spot in the TCR class. Anthony Martella in the 95 leads it, the 84 of Richard Boak just a couple of tenths behind, and Ruben Volt about a second behind them in the 8 car. That was the podium yesterday. Will it shake out exactly the same way today? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, Volt just put in his fastest lap of the race that last time by, as we get another glimpse of the Comstock livery number 22 of Jack Polito. A little throwback scheme celebrating Ford Motorsport and problems for the 25 of Eric Kuntz. Looks like the crew is going to go to the left rear corner of that Honda Civic, so it's a good thing he clinched his championship yesterday. He's got issues and heartbreak too, because he's got a huge group from his title sponsor here today, Amico Design Build. Huge motorsports fans came on board for this weekend, and Man-Made Boxer Briefs as well. Their first foray into motorsports, backing this team, but the good folks from Amico brought 15 sick kids, patient ambassadors here this weekend, which is a touching story, and unfortunately won't get to cheer Eric Kuntz to the end here today.
They were very happy and excited to see Eric Kuntz score the championship yesterday, though, and Eric Kuntz rewarded them by using an air gun to fire man-made products out into the crowd and reward them. It was a lot of fun in Victory Circle, but this is the battle that continues in TCR, and it now has become, I think we can say, officially a 3-car battle, with the 95 of Anthony Martella in close pursuit, the 84 of Richard Boak, and then the 8 of Ruben Volt.
Yeah, there's barely a sliver of air between those 3 drivers, as you see Caden Goodrich in the VPX number 77, the Porsche Cayman, sitting solidly second spot and second overall in today's race in the GT4 class. He's just a little bit off the pace, being laid down by the 22 of Jack Polito, but again, you're right, it is officially a 3-horse race at the front of the field here in the TCR class. Pair of Audis and a Honda, and with Ruben Volt at the wheel in 3rd spot, pulling out. It's interesting to see him pull out of the draft on the front straightaway as we hit the halfway mark.
It is a little curious that you would pull out at that point, but we have seen that. I don't know if he's trying to get a little cooler air into that. I was
going to think maybe having some overheating problems or trying to cool down some brakes, potentially an issue on that Honda Civic as well. It is a lot warmer today than maybe the start of yesterday or practice on Friday.
But this three-car battle continues in the TCR category. You can see there is no one close by them. They have the track all to themselves when they are doing battles, the way the cars have situated around this 2.5-mile circuit at CTMP. And Richard Boak looks like he's trying to press the issue just a little bit going through corner number 5. Maybe he's going to try and get up close to Anthony Martella. Maybe there will be enough room to look to the outside as he did so successfully in passing that 8-car of Ruben Volt.
This is where he'd have to make that move, and he takes a look to the outside. This time Martella does give him a little space, but just a little space. There wasn't much there on the outside headed towards turn 8.
There was a car width and not much more, which is exactly what Anthony Martella should be doing. He is maintaining his position. He is not weaving. He is not blocking. He has chosen his line towards the corner, and he is very much entitled to that part of the racetrack.
And there you can see Ron Tomlinson ahead of the 80 of Connor Atrell and the 66 of Gary Kwok. So the Quaker State-backed Hyundai Elantra N of Atrell sandwiched in between those two drivers as they drop back the 86 of Quinn just a little bit, who's unable to keep the pace of those three drivers just ahead.
Again, not too far off, though. The 86 is a little bit behind Gary Kwok by a couple of seconds, but still very much within striking distance, and as we mentioned, just crossed the halfway point, so plenty of time for that battle to resume as well. Focused on the 95 of Anthony Martella, who is feeling a little more pressure from the 84 of Richard Boak, and 3 cars in tandem now with the 8 of Ruben Volt behind.
Now, we talk about a gap of a couple seconds, and realistically, that is one mistake, one minor misstep around this circuit, and then that 2 seconds is absolutely gone, and you're in a battle. As Tom Kwok in the 55 had been off the pace for a little bit. He was down the running order in 10th spot, and he finds pit lane, so obviously some issues on that Honda Civic.
Frustrating to have that happen in your last race of the season, to have some sort of mechanical issue or mechanical difficulties and not be able to take the checkered flag at the end of the race wherever you're crossing the finish line.
Not a lot of urgency in that paddock area as the 66 of Gary Kwok, his teammate, Tom Kwok's teammate in the M&S entry, is pressuring the 80 of Atrell, and it looks like Atrell has managed to close the gap on the 48 of Ron Tomlinson. So this has been an accordion back and forth and back and forth between these 3 drivers.
Another 3-car battle going on right now in the TCR class, and the 86 of Quinn is not too far off the pace, but the 48 of Tomlinson leading the 80 of Atrell and Gary Kwok, and again, different manufacturers all battling it out.
Now, once these drivers, as Atrell locks up the right front in turn number 3, that is a pretty decent braking zone and a good opportunity for an overtake for these drivers. But once these drivers start mixing it up and passing and getting off their racing line, that gap back to Quinn Atrell is going to evaporate fairly quickly. You'll see this being a 4-car dice before too long as the battle at the front resumes as they work around some slower TCA traffic. And again, it is Martella. Once again, he has hit that mark going into turn number 8 every single lap for the last 10 minutes or so.
And it's been the key to success in maintaining that lead, because if he offers too much of an opening to Richard Boak, he has shown that he has the power to power his way around the outside as the battle continues a little further back with the 48 car of Ron Tomlinson and Connor Atrell. Gary Kwok, a 3-way fight continues as well.
Yeah, this has been a dandy event, and that's what's the beauty of the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin, is no matter where you look on the track, you will find a battle for position. And it looks like Boak has managed to get around the 95 of Anthony Martella. Has he? No, he actually hasn't. So that's Martella in front of Boak, and then back to Ruben Volt to close the gap. So that's why I thought they had changed positions. But no, it is still Martella in the 95, in the lead in the TCR, Boak in second in the 84, and then back to Ruben Volt. But wow, that is 3 cars all covered by a blanket. Smoke showing from Robert Cipriani Dietrich once again in the Subaru BRZ.
Oh my goodness, couldn't it? It couldn't be 2 days in a row, could it, that they have an issue? Just trying to watch that left rear where they had the problem yesterday and see if that's where the smoke is coming from, but
they had engine issues at the Grand Prix at Trois-Rivières, but they did put a brand new engine into that Subaru BRZ ahead of this weekend. and was confirmed that it wasn't anything to do with the engine yesterday. The smoke was from a heat shield that was scrubbing a CV boot and spitting oil or grease onto the exhaust system. So that was the grease burning there. But it looks like that might be the same issue that they're facing here today.
Meantime, the battle at the front of the TCR field continues with the 95 of Anthony Martella just ahead of the 84 of Richard Boak, who is just ahead of the 8 car of Ruben Volt. Distance has spread out just a little bit between those 3 cars now. I wonder if everybody's just kind of catching their breath a little bit. We're just over 14 minutes remaining in this race, and maybe, as you mentioned, trying to cool those tires down just a little bit, have one last opportunity to maybe reel in your competitor and take advantage for position.
See Martella doing everything he needs to do, and again, he's not really driving an offensive lane going into turn number 5. The only opportunity he's been sort of stealing the middle of the track is headed towards turn number 8, but that's exactly what he needs to do, because that's where the 84 is better than the 95 anywhere around this circuit. Martella has him covered no matter where he looks. There's a battle for the lead picking up in the TCA. So the smoke has subsided now from Robert Cipriani Dietrich's Subaru. He's closed the gap on Felix Kwok, and now he's going after the race win.
Maybe just a little bit of a tire rub or a little bit of debris or something, but it is cleared up and the battle has resumed. And that is the TCR battle directly behind the fight for the lead in TCA. We talked about drivers having to navigate traffic in the different classes. This is going to come into play in these final 13 minutes.
Yeah, so the battle now going through the lap traffic of the TCA class cars. Martella still out in front of Boak and the 8 of Volt as they still go nose to tail. And just like the front runners, these 3 drivers have been so glued together for the entire run. Tomlinson ahead of Connor Attrell and Gary Kwok, and Attrell doesn't look like he's too happy to sit behind the 48 for very much longer.
No, he looks like he's starting to press the issue just a little bit and trying to bounce from driver's left to driver's right and fill the mirrors of Ron Tomlinson, maybe getting him to glance one more time when he shouldn't be and create an opening for Connor Attrell to go through. But he continues to pressure him, and Gary Kwok is waiting. If one or both of those drivers have any sort of an issue, he'll be ready to pounce. And the 84 of Richard Boak continues to maintain pressure on the 95 of Anthony Martella, who's driving that perfect line towards corner number 8.
Really is. That time Boak got up alongside, so if Martella turned his head to look to the left, he would have been able to see at least the fender of the 84 pull up alongside. But once again, steady as a veteran would be, the youngster behind the wheel of the 95, Anthony Martella, running a perfect race at the front of the field. And coming into this event, did have his difficulties at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. He was up at the front, leading in the second race, or at least battling for top spot, when he managed to make contact with another car and ended that day early. So he loved nothing else than to finish 2024 with a stop in victory lane.
Oh, what a great way to finish the season, to score a victory, and especially in such a challenging track here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and facing such a lengthy challenge from a formidable competitor in Richard Boak as well. If you can secure your finish with a victory at the end of the season, that's a lot of smiles you'll carry through the rest of the year.
Absolutely. And look at Boak just catching the draft as they head down the Andretti straightaway. Again, the 2 Audis, even when they do sort of fan out to try and battle with each other, still keeping ahead of the Honda of Volt, and a comfortable enough lead that they can battle with each other. That time, Boak looked to the outside and then thought about diving to the inside in turn number 8, follows single file through the S's and onto the front straightaway to complete yet another lap with just over 10 minutes left to go here in the 40-minute time race for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. And up for grabs a visit to Braden Motorsports Victory Lane.
It's been a terrific battle, and
that's Kwok managed to get around the 80 of Attrell. They got into slower traffic with the 11 of Felix Kwok holding things up a little bit, and Gary Kwok got through, but all the while the 5 of Robert Cipriani-Dietrich has managed to get around the 11 of Felix Kwok and into top spot in the TCA class.
A lot of shuffling in the last 10 minutes with the 66 of Gary Kwok, who is now running in 5th in the TCR category. He will resume the chase of the 48 of Ron Tomlinson. And Robert Cipriani-Dietrich, after difficulty yesterday, finds himself out front of TCA with 10 minutes remaining.
And you can see Cipriani-Dietrich. There's the gap back to Kwok now. That's Felix Kwok in the Honda Civic, the red and white number 11. And he was leading up until just moments ago when the 5 of Robert Cipriani-Dietrich managed to get around. And again, there's a driver. We talked about his engine troubles he had at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Yesterday was out in front, and he had that issue with the CV boot in the back end of that car. He had to pull to the side and ended his day early. There's another driver that would love a trip to Victory Lane to cap off the 2024 season.
Oh, 100%. You wonder, too, as we talked about the Michelin tires and overusing them, getting them a little hot, getting them a little bit slippery. You wonder if that's the situation with Felix Kwok in that 11 car, who was skating away in the early going of this race, had built himself a substantial lead, but maybe pushed just a little bit too hard, and he has come back to the rest of the field now.
Not only that, Cipriani-Dietrich could use a good finish, because yesterday with that DNF, Peter Hansen managed to leapfrog him in the points into 2nd spot. So a win today would put him back into the runner-up position in the 2024 championship. As you see, the 22 of Jack Polito still out in front. No challenge from behind. As a matter of fact, the gap is now 12 seconds behind that Multimatic Motorsports Ford Mustang. And what if you've seen that car up close with the hood open, it is a spectacular race car.
Yes, it is, and people have been seeing it up close in Victory Lane all season long, because Jack Polito is demonstrating another example of managing your race, managing your equipment, using your car as much as you need to get back out in front, and he has been cruising since then.
And what's interesting, too, is you look at the best times between the 22 of Jack Polito, so a 1:23.4, and Caden Goodrich actually has a 1:24.3, so it's not too much different as far as best time goes, but it's just been consistently good for the driver. And is that problems for Jack Polito? It is. He's off the pace between turns 3 and 4. We've just been heaping praise on this team and on this driver for his run today, as he's been untouched all race long, but something has gone wrong in the driveline of the number 22 of Jack Polito as he pulls off into the grass in the lead up of turn number 5.
What a disappointment. Hoping to finish the season with another triumph here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. I believe you said his average finish is 1.3. That is going to change here today after not being able to make it to the finish with 6.5 minutes remaining.
This will be his first loss behind the wheel of a GT4 car here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So he shut the car off, he cycled it, and now he manages to refire, and he's going to rejoin the race. So whatever issue he had may have been electrical or computer in nature, because he shut the car off, he saw the lights go dead, he fired it back up, and now Jack Polito is back out on track. So can he close the gap to Caden Goodrich? He'll have to really get on it. Goodrich is about 3/4 of a lap ahead, so it'll be tough to catch. Actually, Goodrich going into turn number 2, so it's almost half a track now, though pretty much impossible for the 22 of Jack Polito to come through and take the victory. But the 77 of Caden Goodrich is going to seize this opportunity in the GT4 class in the 77. He leads now over Anthony Martella, who is second on track, as the battle for the lead in the TCR class has now moved up to second overall. Boak is very much pressuring the back of the 95 and increasing that pressure with each lap, with now just about 5.5 minutes to go. And yeah, the 22 of Jack Polito has pulled down pit lane to the attention of his crew, and we'll see where they go to work. But either way, his day finishes early, and this will be his first race that he does not visit Victory Lane in the GT4 class here in the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. Still not done though, and we still haven't finished the championship battle in the TCR class. It's the only class that hasn't yet crowned a champion, or at least clinched a champion. We know Polito is champion in the GT4s. We know Eric Kuntz is champion in the TCAs. Both of those drivers have had their issues here today. But who will come out on top in TCR? There's Caden Goodrich, leader overall, leader in the GT4s here today. And there's that battle for the race lead in the TCRs. Peter Hansen just ahead. Richard Boak goes to the inside as Martella goes to the outside. And again, they come through single file in turn number 3. Martella has to ride the brake just a little bit as he carried a lot of speed on the outside of turn number 3. Now, down into 4, up into turn number 5. Again, Martell will drive it deep, hang on to top spot. Down the back straightaway will be telling to see where this is going to shake out. Richard Boak once again catches the draft from the teenager down the back straightaway as they start to take a look at the back end of the 77 of Caden Goodrich. So Goodrich, the leader overall, and this could actually see the driver of the TCR class potentially take the overall win with the 77 just ahead, as these two drivers have really picked up the pace over the last couple of laps. Anthony Martella, Richard Boak still nose to tail onto the front straightaway. You can see Ruben Volt sitting in 3rd spot. All 3 of them finished on the podium in race number 1 here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and it looks like all 3 of them poised to step on the podium again here today, but in which position still yet to be determined. Boak sliding it all the way out to the runoff area on the exit of turn number 2, trying to capitalize on that momentum generated to see if he can make an opportunity for a pass in turn number 3. They are closing the gap on the 77 of Caden Goodrich at this point. Goodrich knows he can just cruise at this point and take the GT4 victory. But Martella has now started to think about an opportunity to pass that 77 in the dying few moments of this race. About 2.5 minutes left to go in this 40-minute timed race. There's Robert Cipriani Dietrich, the leader in the TCA class, comfortably out in front now of the 11 of Felix Kwok. Peter Hansen rounds out the top 3 in the TCA class. Cipriani Dietrich, who had a little bit of smoke showing from the back end of that car, it appears to have fixed itself. At least that's what the drivers will be telling themselves. And Cipriani Dietrich has not lost any speed. That is for sure in that Subaru BRZ. In this battle between Martella and Richard Boak. So they have managed to get around the 77 of Caden Goodrich. So Goodrich drops to 4th overall in the running order. But again, he is the GT4 race leader in that Porsche. Martella, 1st overall now, 0.2 of a second faster than Richard Boak that last time they crossed the stripe. And white flag is out, and we've got a big issue with the 80 of Atrell right here on the front straightaway in front of the flag stand. So some contact, and there is debris on the front straightaway. The white flag is out, so there would have been 1 lap to go. I believe this is just going to be a local caution. And you can see some body panels, bits of carbon fiber out on the front straightaway. Trell was running in 7th place overall. He was in that battle with the 48 of Ron Tomlinson, but for the TCR win down the back straightaway, Boak's going to take another look on the outside, poke back on the inside. Nope, back to the outside he'll go, and he'll follow single file, turn number 8, behind the youngster Anthony Martella into turn number 9. There's still single file. 1 more passing opportunity for the race win overall and in the TCR class, and it is Anthony Martella, followed home by Richard Boak. And Ruben Volt will come home in 3rd spot in the TCRs with Caden Goodrich, the winner in the GT4 class. He will cross the line 4th overall in the Porsche 718 Cayman. Well, what a race at the front of the field in the TCR all race long. Heartbreak for Jack Polito, as he had such a huge margin built up and something mechanically amiss in that Ford Mustang ended his race early. Same thing goes for Eric Kuntz in the 25, but Robert Cipriani-Dietrich comes through as your race winner in the TCA class, followed by Felix Kwok, and Peter Hansen will round out the podium. There is the podium finishers in the TCRs. As they head down the straightaway once again. And it looks like still at speed, as Martell will work his way through turn number 8 one more time, with Richard Boak in behind and off of turn number 10. So the field will see the checkered flag this time. And so it is Anthony Martella with the caution off of turn number 10. Martella will take the win, followed by Richard Boak in the 84. Side by side, a big thumbs up from those two drivers as Caden Goodrich finds pit lane as the winner in the GT4 class. As we mentioned, driver the 77 finishes on the top step of the podium in the GT4s. But Anthony Martella in the 95, Richard Boak and Ruben Volts will come home the top 3 in the TCRs. There is your race winner in the TCA, Robert Cipriani-Dietrich. So it's Cipriani-Dietrich, Felix Kwok, and Peter Hansen, your top 3 in the TCA class. And that is the 2024 season for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. Richard Boak did enough today to clinch the championship in the TCR class. If Anthony Martella had won, Richard Boak had to finish anywhere better than 8th place to clinch the championship by coming home in 2nd. He will be crowned the 2024 TCR champion in the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. I believe Richard Boak will also take home the CTMP Cup, presented by Omologato. And I believe Jack Polito will do the same. Eric Kuntz and Robert Cipriani-Dietrich, the top 2 in the TCA class for that special championship within a championship as well, the CTMP Cup presented by Omologato. For Todd Lewis, I'm Dave Bradley. Once again, thank you very much for joining us for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Our thanks to David Bradley and Todd Lewis. Coverage of our Sports Car Championship presented by Michelin, final race of the year. And I'm sure as we get into the fall and over the winter months, news about the FEL series for 2025 will be announced. All the confirmed schedules and dates for both the M-Zone Radical Cup Canada Series and the Sports Car Championship Canada Series presented by Michelin. Of course, M-Zone Radical Cup Canada, they go on to their final weekend coming up at Mont Tremblant, with the championship still to be decided. That'll be the September 27th, 28th, and 29th weekend. We're now officially into our lunch break. Our opening ceremonies will start at 1:40. So that is coming up in about 30 minutes from now. In the meantime, the CTMP Marketplace is open. That's where you'll find all of the various displays and vendors, along with the various food options here for lunch. Tiny Tom's Donuts, Lemon Heaven, Heavenly Dreams Ice Cream, Temptations Food Truck, and Loaded Pierogi, as well as the Trackside Grill at the east end of the paddock. And up in turn number 3, the Miller's Meats Food Truck, serving that brand new bagger burger and corn on the cob and other items as well. Also, final opportunity here during the lunch break to head by the various merchandise trailers. The CTMP merchandise trailer located next to the trackside grill for official t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and more. The Fast Eddie Racewear merchandise booth in the CTMP marketplace. That's where you get all of the NASCAR Canada merchandise, and of course FEL, they have a limited quantity of products for their series also available for sale